Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Chris Dearborn. He's the Managing Director at Nasdaq's Market Intelligence Desk with an update on the Nasdaq 100, of course, which is made up of the 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed right here on the Nasdaq stock market. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. And Chris, speaking of performance, we're continuing to see that follow through from last week, where the Nasdaq 100 is certainly outperforming the other major averages.
Absolutely. It's a robust day for the index. It's up 1.2%, trading near the highs of the day right now, and is testing, as we talked about last week, testing the bottom of that February gap where the index sold off on the pandemic news. And we've actually filled that gap, and we're starting to test north of that. And today just happens to be an outperforming day across the board. The NDX has been leading, and most of that's attributed again to the mega cap tech names that are the heavily weighted members of this index.
Yeah, and if we take a look at our first chart here, a little bit longer term of a look with the technicals, and it seems to be falling in line exactly with what you're saying and what we're seeing on the fundamental side of the equation.
Right, we're trading at 93.40 right about now, which is above that gap lower, and it on the Fibonacci retracement level, you've come above that 76.4 retracement level. So again, very bullish momentum in the index, very bullish momentum for the underlying members here, and the large cap names that we said continue to outperform the broader market, thus bringing the points that you need to get this index higher. If we continue to trend this way, the index is leading here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a retest of the all-time highs that we made back in February, that 97.36 level. A lot of room to work between then and now, and a lot of macro news to digest, especially with the pandemic, especially with the states and countries starting to reopen, and we'll see how that carries through. But again, right now, in the microcosm of the Nasdaq 100 index, momentum is positive. The trend is positive, and we're looking to fill that gap, which again is a very bullish signal in this index.
All right, and if we take a look at our second chart here, of course, the heat map where you can see which individual components are helping to lead to outperformance, and just as you had said before, the typical, top 4 or 5 that we've been seeing.
Exactly. So if you look at the point level there, Apple, Amazon, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Alphabet, all leading higher. Gilead, as expected, continues to trend higher as well. And later this afternoon, we've seen a number of other companies come in that have had a large percentage move. Zoom, which is a relatively new member to the index a few weeks ago, is up over 7% today, adding 1.2 points. VRTX is up, Dexcom's up, Biogen's up. Again, all up 5+%, adding anywhere from 2 or more points, with Zoom adding 1.2. Then the heavyweights, as we mentioned before, are all adding anywhere close to 8, 9, 10 points based on the listing. So again, a very robust way. The momentum is definitely bullish here coming into the last hour of trading on the day. We'll see how the day closes. But right now, with the index, if it holds anywhere north of that retracement level, and we stay north of the, we'll call it 9,300 area, give or take, you should continue to see momentum build throughout the week, barring any macro news that could send this index and the broader markets lower.
All right, and to wrap up here, Chris, last week was incredibly heavy for earnings. We're starting to see that slow down now, and I can't believe how fast the earnings season went, where we will once again, towards the end of May, be in that vacuum until second quarter earnings season. We're really going to be focusing on COVID-19 news and treatment and what's happening in the macro environment.
Right. Q1 earnings came in a flurry. It's a little bit different than Q4 earnings that come out. It's a little bit more spread out during the first quarter of 2020. Q1 20 is more concentrated, so there's a lot more to digest. We'll see what brings on the conference schedule with the companies doing fireside chats and such, and the reopenings of the states and the stores, and we'll see how that kind of works out. Again, look for baby steps here across the way for a number of these companies. Again, any positive takes from senior management at these companies, as well as a dampening of this curve as it continues with the states to reopen, and you're going to see more positive momentum flow into the index.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill.
All right, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.